22,000 people on BC's Sunshine Coast have been living with severe water restrictions for more than a month.
Dry conditions on BC's Sunshine Coast have led authorities in that region to declare a local state of emergency.
We've had to really look at our water usage.
As of 11:59 p.m. tonight, Pacific time, a number of businesses in the Sunshine Coast Regional District are going to be impacted. That means that they are no longer going to be able to use water for things such as public pools, water that goes into making cement, for example. Also talking about alcohol production, so this will affect breweries, for example.
Since July 10th, the district of Sechelt has recorded just 9 millimeters of rain. The average for this period
Need to buy themselves some time here so that they make sure that they have enough water for residents to drink, for hospitals to operate, and for firefighters to use.
On March 3rd, we had the opportunity to go to the Sunshine Coast and interview a myriad of stakeholders, all with different viewpoints, positionalities, and interests. We first interviewed Lori, a full-time local resident who highlighted her struggles with gardening and her feelings of alienation from her friends back in Vancouver, who did not have the same restrictions or struggles with water scarcity.
And were there, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Last question. Were there like specific kind of restrictions at that household level? Did they say you had a certain amount to use per day, or was it just more recommendations? Like you were not.
No, you were on your own.
Okay.
Like there was fines if you were seen watering or something. Like and the community and like our little Roberts Creek area, people were aware. You know, so if somebody was doing something and continuously watering somewhere, yeah, I'm sure they would have. You would have been called out as an individual resident.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was fines being put out. I think there was some fines that were given, but what we did, just Randy and I, was more like, of course, the watering outside. How often you ran your dishwasher, say, like did you never ran your tap water? And as we've all grown up knowing, turn the water off when you're brushing your teeth. Like we've all. There's those little things, but when you're having, like, showers were like one of the things we didn't do. We would have baths, and there was limited water in your bathtub.
Moving up here did bring a different level of, what do you call it, like owning it. Like you've got to be trying to be part of a solution. Every little bit can help. Like I said, like you all grew up, turn the water off when you're brushing your teeth, right? Like at least I told my kids to. I mean, what can you really do? Yeah. You can't fight it. I mean, there's no water. You've got to go with the flow, just like COVID.
Especially for the garden, Lori always likes to keep her plants, so.
Well, the vegetables, the fruits and vegetables, like I've always thought, I'll come up here, no problem. You'll grow some lettuce and some carrots and, your basics that you can grow, tomatoes. And then it starts, that comes into play, like, so how would that look? Can we do that? Like, when are they going to implement a restriction? Really, how much rain have we had this year? Yeah, we got some snow, but not, like, like, really, how much is enough anymore? Because there's so many more people. I would talk to friends, like, I'm here, they're on the mainland, and it just felt like I was living in a different zone. Like, I was living in a different world, and yet, I mean, yes, we're not an island, we're connected, but everybody, like, people still had green lawns and stuff, and we're here like having baths, and doing different things to try and save water, but yet you'd go back onto the mainland and you'd be like, wow, it's a different world.
We then went to the Sunshine Coast Golf and Country Club and interviewed the manager, who told us that they were privileged enough to have been able to build their own wells, and so they were not worried about the water scarcity crisis. The owner of the Persephone Brewing Company was focused on the larger picture of the climate crisis rather than the specifics of water access issues on the Sunshine Coast, arguing that the issue is not of water scarcity but of climate change. Our interviews highlighted the different perceptions of water scarcity and water access along the Sunshine Coast, and the different ways in which local stakeholders believe it should be solved. Some see it as an issue of infrastructure, others see it as an issue of governance, and still others see it as an issue of climate change. The crisis impacted stakeholders unevenly and to varying degrees. Ultimately, as our presentation will show, the issue of water scarcity along the Sunshine Coast is complicated and extremely difficult to solve.